Today, an investigation was launched after a 7-year-old died while in the custody of U.S. Customs and Border. Are you tired of today's crummy news? Me too. I'm Wonderhussy, and I have a plan to make the news great again.
Just like it was on Monday, April 3rd, 1961. While exploring an abandoned building earlier today, I found this old copy of the Las Vegas Review-Journal from 57 years ago. It was all wrinkled up, high on a shelf in a closet in a half-burned-up building, but amazingly, after I took it home and ironed it out a little, I found it to be in pretty good shape. So, here's the news from Monday, April 3rd, 1961. As you might remember, there was a lot of big historical stuff going on back then. Like, look at this. Cuba crowds cry, God save people, defy Castro. And then look at this. Laotian women on the march. They're sort of like gearing up for, I guess, what was to become the Vietnam War. Or how about this? Eichmann, most efficient killer. Boy, I'll say. Or how about this one? This is probably my favorite one in the whole newspaper. Nuclear energy to melt glacier. Moscow. 2 Soviet scientists predicted today that the time is not far off when Russia will use nuclear energy to melt glaciers for irrigation purposes. I wonder how that worked out. Hey, maybe that's what we should do to solve the water crisis. We'll fill Lake Mead up in no time. And some not so big stuff. Like, odd day for cops. San Francisco. Several odd incidents kept police busy on Easter Sunday. I don't know, isn't every day an odd day for the cops in San Francisco? Or how about this? Seize horsehair. Port Said, Egypt. A 5-ton shipment of horsehair bound for Israel was seized by United Arab Republic customsmen today from the British freighter Socotra. The horsehair was for making brushes. President Kennedy hadn't been assassinated yet, and he was big news. Tight security marks Kennedy Easter rites. Palm Beach, Florida. President and Mrs. Kennedy attended Easter Mass under a tight security guard Sunday in their first public appearance since Secret Service agents uncovered a Cuban assassination threat against the nation's first family. Or even worse, Cuban reported plot against Caroline. First word of an alleged kidnapping plot against Caroline Kennedy, 3-year-old daughter of the president. Okay, but not everyone apparently loved President Kennedy. Look at this. I don't know why she likes him so much. I'm a Republican and so is the rest of my family, said Joyce Eidenberry, 18, of Greenville, Tennessee, whose 14-year-old sister Kay ran away to Washington in an unsuccessful attempt to see President Kennedy. It's like a little micro news story, and then right underneath it, there's another little sort of micro editorial that I find particularly fascinating. There is no censorship in our country. We are permitted to print whatever we like, but our people are not permitted to listen to bad words of journalists who are poisoning relations between our peoples. Poisoning relations between our people? It's so random. It's just like this little micro editorial sandwiched in between all these other stories. And in the more things change, the more they stay the same category. U.S. rolling wave of conservatism. Boy, here's a real shocker. Pope upset over world state. He is distressed over the uneasy state of the world and the terrifying actions of a great number of men. Okay, this might be my second favorite article in here. Husband, wife, fight over car. An argument about who should drive the family car resulted in the husband being sought on assault and hit-and-run warrants, and the wife being in critical condition. Wow. Boy, they say people are violent nowadays. I hate to say it, but the news back then could be pretty crummy too. Hoodlums beat 8 people, robbed 2 couples. Fires kill children. Tot's body found. Tots die in fire. Boy, I bet Napoleon Dynamite was bummed. Or look at this. They say that the media is invasive and sensationalistic now. Youth consoled. 5-year-old Irvin Wagley is consoled by his dog and an unidentified neighbor after seeing his father shoot and kill his mother. And they posted a picture of this kid in the paper. Or this one, which actually, this one might be my favorite article in here. Youths held following narco raid. West Orange, New Jersey. Police widened an investigation of narcotics addiction that may involve more than 50 youths. Most of them teenagers who take narcotics for kicks. Taking narcotics for kicks, you say? Okay, but what about local Vegas news? Vegas man jailed on narco rap. A 32-year-old Las Vegas man arrested several weeks ago by federal narcotics agents for smuggling heroin into the United States. Deputies jail robber suspects. Sheriff's detectives Sunday morning arrested two men about an hour after they reportedly held up a Las Vegas Army sergeant and kicked the serviceman out of their car at the Sloan intersection on Highway 91 South, about 50 miles from here. Oh, I guess that was the old highway to LA before they built Interstate 15. Detective Art Jacka said Sergeant Joe E.R. Pelletier, visiting his family here at 2229 Rigney Lane, was hitchhiking back to Camp Irvin when two men picked him up near McCarran Field, took him to the deserted highway intersection, and robbed him of his cash, wristwatch, and ring. And how about this? A record session, Governor Grant Sawyer, who had his differences with the 1961 legislature, commented that the session that ended Saturday was the most fruitful and effective that he has observed. But here's the part I like about the article. The cow counties knew it was coming and it could not be fought off indefinitely. Cow counties? I feel like you couldn't really get away with calling them cow counties today. It wasn't all bad in Vegas, though. Like, look at this. Pretty Valerie Kite, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Harry Kite of 6336 Burgundy Way, is shown taking a bite out of one of several candy Easter eggs she found after an early morning egg hunt. Boy, I wonder what she ended up doing with her life. Okay, and this is another one of my favorite things in this paper. Missile Miss. Curvaceous Carol Hoffman, one of Hotel Sahara's Corrine Most American Girls in the World, displays her taste in outer space fashions after filing an official application to become the first female astronaut. I don't remember hearing about her ever making it to space. I wonder what happened to her. She's probably chain smoking and playing video poker in the same dotties as Pretty Valerie Kite. But for real, dude, the entertainment back then was way better than it is now. I mean, look at this. Martin Denny's exotic music, complete with bird calls, is enchanting patrons in the Sands Lounge these nights. Oh my god, I friggin' love Martin Denny. He does that old, like, tiki music, exotica. I would love to have seen him in the Sands Lounge. I don't even really know who any of these people are, but apparently they were all playing at the Desert Inn. I guess it's tore off there, but Paul Gilbert, the king of comics, was playing with Art Johnson, the singing master of informalities. Not really sure what that is. Carlton Hayes and his orchestra. Somebody named Cole at the piano. I don't think it was Nat King Cole, because that doesn't look like it was a G. Who knows? All I know is Don Arden produced it, and he did Jubilee, which was, I think that was the last Showgirl review that was on the strip. They stupidly canceled it, which I think is retarded because, I don't know, I know that's dated kind of entertainment, but I feel like as much fun as this friggin' newspaper is to read, people would definitely be into a vintage Vegas experience like that. Someone needs to open a vintage Vegas nightclub or lounge. Okay, and I'm not really sure what this dude's trip is. Forrest Duke, the visiting fireman. I guess it's just kind of like that guy Norm Clark. I think Norm Clark still writes a gossip column in the paper today. I guess he was like the Norm Clark of his day, because it's just little notes scribbled on scribbled notes, little notes about what was going on around town. As a neighborly salute to the Flamingo's ultra-modern convention hall, most strip hotels are extending invitation to their gal-type guests. Gal-type guests? What was it, a tranny convention? Convention capital of the world, indeed. Then he's got the shoppers in Market Town were given quite a scare the other night when they found Count Dracula reclining in the ice cream display freezer. Gabe Dell, the Dracula of the Flamingo Steve Allen show, was merely relaxing while waiting for a press photog to arrive for a publicity shot. Lime sherbet, please. Or how about this? Eddie Woodland, the popular young pro at the Desert Inn golf course, will take over as pro when the Stardust course opens this summer. Ed is newly married, and he and his bride will settle down in a Paradise Palms Estates home adjoining the new links. Boy, that was a swanky place to live back in the day. But it's actually, I think people are kind of gentrifying it now, moving back into those homes and fixing them up. Like, people are really into that mid-century modern architecture, and there's actually some really badass houses over there. Oh, and I found this dude's column really interesting. Earl Wilson, I guess he kind of covers Broadway or entertainment. Well, here he's talking about Broadway publicity grabbing madness. I live in a celebrity sector where publicity grabbing is a madness. Okay, sound familiar? Everyone's always complaining about how shallow we are today, how we all follow the Kardashians and this and that. Well, it looks like they had the same friggin' problem back then. And he asks somebody, so who are the greatest creations of today's monumental publicity machines? And the answer was Marilyn Monroe and Brigitte Bardot. Also about the most tortured and troubled women alive today. Well, that's crazy. Marilyn Monroe didn't die for another year, 2 years, I think. But it's crazy that they were already noting that she was troubled. Brigitte Bardot actually is still alive. She became an animal rights activist, so somehow she was able to work through her demons. But poor Marilyn, we all know what happened to her. Died of drugs up her ass. And then at the end of his column, he has like these little funny tidbits. Earl's Pearls. The only thing some boys learn in college is how to open a beer bottle with a quarter. Kind of reminds me of Kavanaugh. And here's today's best laugh. There are 2 ways of making it big in TV. Become a star or a repairman. But the best part about this old paper are the ads. I mean, look at this dude. Ruben Zucker, MD, by appointment. And look at the phone number, DU20998. I guess that's how phone numbers were back then. It's so weird. Or how about this Bank of Nevada, Southern Nevada's Progressive Bank. Sunset Funeral Chapel. Quality without extravagance. Or how about this? Anyone ever shop at Bartlett's? And this one looks really cool. I'm bummed that most of it's torn off, but it's an ad for Gulf Ridge Terrace, Washington and Decatur. And if you read, you can kind of tell what it said. Something about complete living saves you thousands of dollars. I guess it's an advertisement for this housing development over there, which I guess back then were pretty nice homes on a golf course. But go over there today and it's a different story. And I love this cowboy chicken, or rooster. Generous Fremont's the name, and it's well earned. There are thousands of jackpots daily in the Fremont Casino. Just about everyone's a winner. So come in soon. I can't go on giving away money like this forever. Can you imagine? Even the friggin' Fremont, which is a total dive nowadays, was probably super glamorous back then. Here's another ad. I wish we could see the whole thing. I guess it's an ad for Safeway, which is interesting because it's called Vons down here now. It's still called Safeway up north, but I guess this is before the Vons chain in LA bought it or whatever happened to change the name. Anyways, it has all these prices for meat, which is interesting. I don't really eat a lot of meat, so I'm not sure what the prices of this stuff is today, but I bet it's way higher than 79 cents a pound for pork loin chops, 45 cents a pound for rib or loin end, fresh calf liver, skinless wieners, Captain's Choice fish sticks. Oh gosh. But this has to be the best ad in the entire newspaper. It's for James Cashman Cadillac. Well, basically it's an ad for Cadillac where logic endorses desire. And talk about a tagline. That should be the new tagline on my website, where logic endorses desire. And talk about some amazing artwork. I mean, first of all, that is a sick Cadillac. Secondly, it looks like something right out of the show Mad Men. Those 2 dudes standing there talking about it. Like one guy's trying to strong arm the other dude into buying it. He's got his hand on his shoulder. Wouldn't your wife look pretty sitting on the seat next to you in that caddy? Well, depending, they might end up getting in a fight over who gets to drive it, and he might end up dragging her down the street and getting arrested for spousal abuse. But anyways, it's actually specifically an ad for this local Cadillac dealer that I'm pretty sure is still around, Cashman Cadillac. I think it's the same guy who Cashman Field is named after, and I think they do heavy equipment rentals as well. Cashman, big name in Vegas. In fact, I used to work for a company called Cashman Photo. It's a company that does all the photos in all the hotels in town. But interestingly, that's not their real last name. They moved here from Miami Beach in like 1967 or something, and they just changed their name to Cashman to sort of glom onto the already existing Cashman name in town, I guess. I think their real last name is Weinblatt, actually. But a little fun fact for you next time you see a Cashman Photo photographer. And finally, we're going to end the news for today with this little ad for some product that helps you overcome false teeth looseness and worry. Looks like some kind of really gross powder you used to glue in your dentures before they had modern stuff like Fix-It that wouldn't poison you over time. There's a lot of nostalgic talk about the good old days, but stuff like this is a stark reminder of how grim things really were back then.
But wait a minute, I'm confused. I thought things were so much better when the mob ran Vegas. I have a lot of old-timer friends who love to tell me how much better it was when the mob ran Vegas. Well, the mob ran Vegas back in April of '61, and doesn't seem like things were that great back then. I'd say the news back then was just as crummy as it is now. Anyway, that's the news for Monday, April 3rd, 1961. This is Wonderhussy, signing off.